Hi guys, John, the firearms instructor. Welcome to our live. Sorry about that. I was trying to get the Instagram all lined up there. Give me a few seconds here. 1 second. I'll get that Instagram done for us. All right, go. 1 second, folks. Apologize about that. All right, welcome, guys. John, the firearms instructor. I still having a little challenges with that. I'm glad you're here this evening. We got a great show for you. As the twins would say, it's a damn good show. Damn good show. We're here tonight to talk about triggers. Trigger, trigger, trigger. It's all about triggers tonight. We're going to be talking in regards to trigger travel and things like that. Don't look like we're going to be able to get you on Instagram this evening, so we're all right. We got you on YouTube. We got you on Facebook. We got you on my Facebook channel. We got you on Twitter. So we got you on plenty of places. And we're here for you. If you know what the drill is if you're new to the channel, you make sure you put some kind of remark in the comments letting you know that you're new. If you're watching it through our Facebook page, you can always put FB. If you're watching it through YouTube, you can always put YT. If you're watching on after the fact, like rewatch, you can always put re on there or after live if you're not watching it live. So hope you're having a great week. We are a little slow this week, a little slow Monday and Tuesday, but Monday night was a good night because we actually had our first 22 pistol league start here at the range, and it's kind of fun. With it's a top three, it's 300, and we get three times to shoot, which is a 10 rounds at 5 yards, 10 rounds at 7 yards, and 10 rounds at 10 yards. And you get about 5 minutes to shoot them. And it's all 22s, no matter what. Doesn't matter if you're using revolver, semi-automatic, or if you're doing a red dot or not a red dot. Last night, the red dot won, as it probably should sometimes. He shot a perfect. Um, First round was a perfect 100. Then he dropped down and dropped down second time as well. Got a little bit low to left, got further out. But we had the winning guy shot a 294, uh, and a 290. Well, the winner shot a 298, and the second place shot a 294. And Miss Johnson shot a 265, 264. I was pretty proud of her. She hadn't done it. She had practiced it at all, and she's able to do that pretty well. We only had Tasha was there last night, and we had a few more. We had a few people say they were coming, but they didn't show. That's okay. We're trying to get it off the ground and try to work it. So we're going to do it every Monday night here at the range, starting at 6 o'clock. Practice starts at 6. You get 15 minutes of practice, and then we start the first shots at 6:15. And it took us about I don't know, maybe an hour trying to get everything figured out and do the counts and all that stuff like that. But pretty cool. It was fun. It was a good evening. We got in, got out, and we weren't here all night doing it. But you got to be able to. There's top. We pay out top three every week, and then the fifth week we're going to do a championship that everyone can buy into, as well as look at the overall extra scores and things like that. So, any interested in that? And you're local here. Obviously, we're more than welcome to have you. More than welcome to have you. Hope you all are doing the great this evening. Let's look at the comments and see who's here this evening. It looks like there's six of you right now. So let's see what we have here. Albert from Wisconsin. Ooh, hey, Packers fan. Brand new to YouTube. Brand new on YouTube. Well, I'm glad you're here, Albert. You a shooter, buddy? Have you shot before, Albert? Are you new to shooting? That's great. Thank you very much for commenting for us. We like that. We like that very much. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is John Johnson. I'm the owner and operator of a firearms training facility in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. We specialize in you. We specialize in the first time shooter, teach them all the rules and regulations and how to shoot a gun properly to become more proficient and be able to control the weapon. A lot of our stuff we do, we specialize in the new student. It gives them the opportunity. We are a training facility in beautiful Cape Coral. And what we do is we take people from never shooting a pistol before and take them all the way to buying their first pistol, range time, all the stuff like that that a newbie needs. Hold their hand a little bit. We are a 5 lane indoor gun range. So we have the ability to let them do some training after the fact, some range time after the fact. And it's kind of fun and unique that we offer that stuff. A lot of places do not allow people to try the pistol before they buy the pistol. That's our specialty. We get people to shoot pistols before they buy them, and we give them all kinds of tips to make them more proficient with a firearm. Um, it can't believe it's already May. Man, it's flying, buddy. It's flying. It's flying. It's flying. Hopefully, we can get this whole election stuff getting out of the way and get the right man in there and straighten the world up. But who knows what that'll happen there. So I think we'll go ahead and start with the process of the trigger. I want to talk to you a little bit about it due to the fact that I can tell you that a trigger itself, besides grip, the trigger is probably the most important part of the pistol. People don't realize how much manipulation happens to a pistol through the trigger and the trigger well. Uh, because a lot of people want to grip that trigger or do crazy things with the trigger. So we put 10 tips together for you that will help you understand the manipulation of the trigger and how much trigger travel and anticipation causes inaccuracy with a firearm. And these are things that happen very quickly with a firearm. They're not something that it's not something that happens very over a long period of time. It happens very quickly, very quickly. So let's go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint presentation. Let's get this on the screen for us. As always, we're going to do this first, and then we're going to come back and answer any questions that you have. So if you have a comment about anything, you can always comment, and we will come back to the comments to answer each and every one of them. Now, obviously, we like to stay on topic as much as possible, but if you have something you're having a problem with at the range and would like us to participate or help you in any way, obviously we you can. Now, there's a couple homework things I need you guys to do today. Lately, some of the channels that are not very popular are getting our subscribers are getting unsubscribed for some reason. I'm sure it's not a furious thing that's happening, but if you can make sure before you leave the channel this evening that you subscribe to, like, and hit that bell icon, and every time we upload a video of any kind, you guys will be the first to know. Now, I had somebody in yesterday or the day before, and they say they have to subscribe almost every time they go to my videos because the subscribe button is not working on his laptop. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the scenario is, but make sure you're subscribing to our channel as much as possible due to the fact that sometimes you guys get unsubscribed and you don't even know it. Because we have a large percentage of subscribers. We have almost 29,000 subscribers, and once in a while we put a video out that we only get 100 people looking at it. So Math's not adding up somewhere along the line. Again, I don't think it's various. I don't think that's happening. I just think it's maybe some kind of software thing that's happening. So if you get an opportunity, please, please, please don't forget to hit the bell icon, the like, and the subscribe button, and you'll be the first to know we upload any videos we do. So speaking of uploads, we're doing a I'm doing a whole little this month. I'm trying to put something out almost every day, whether it be short, one of these live podcasts, or some long form video, just to get out a little bit. We're doing on Instagram, we're doing on YouTube, we're going on TikTok, we're doing a lot of different stuff. So we're working very hard to edit these videos to make them very entertaining, and I hope that you have the opportunity to watch some more of our videos and feel comfortable. So that being said, let's get started here. Oh, by the way, guys, I got a gift for you. One of the things I want to make sure you understand is I do all the things I do here in the passion of I love this. This is my passion, basically. It's part of what I enjoy. And one of the things I want to make sure that I don't know if you know this, but I've written a couple different books already. And I want to give you this book here. And this is a book that's on my website. You just go right to my website, www.firearmstraining by johngjohnson.com. And on my front page of a website, scroll down about halfway, you'll see this book here, 10 Secrets from a Firearms Instructor, Essential Tips for New Shooters. And this is a pretty cool thing. Now, I thought a while back about putting together an interactive ebook. And the cool thing about this, what this means, is not only is this ebook readable, but each one of the tips, each one of the secrets has a corresponding video that you could click on and watch after you've read that tip. And you could take the video, the book, and the corresponding drill that's involved with it to the range and practice it. And it makes it so much easier for you to understand. This book was designed for new shooters or shooters that haven't been shooting for a very long time. And it gives you 10 essential tips to become more proficient, more confident, and more in control of the weapon by just watching, reading, and viewing the videos that are attached to it. Now, if you take your phone out right now, unless you're on your phone, you could physically uh, screenshot this and go ahead and hold on to this QR code, because that QR code that you see down below there, that's that white box that looks all squiggly on you. That's going to take you directly to the checkout of this book. Now, I told you the book is free, and it is free, but we need some contact information from you and an email to send this to you. Once this book is sent to you, you own it at that point in time. You feel free to share it if you'd like to, or just tell your friends and family about go get the free book from our website, and they can get it as well. Cool thing about this, again, what I was telling you, is not only is it something that you can watch, read, and perform, which is what we like about these interactive books now, these free ebooks. A lot of people can read it and catch it. A lot of people can do it and catch it. When you're reading it, watching it, and doing it, it's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot easier for you to become more proficient with a pistol. So get an opportunity, click on this, link on here, or you can go ahead and go to my website and pick up this free ebook for me. It's free, guys. free. So go ahead, download it, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. All right. So let's talk about tip number one. Tip number one is trigger press. Refers to the control of deliberate action of smoothly applying pressure to the trigger while the trigger is pull. A trigger pull is an aggressive slapping of the trigger. which causes gun movement. Now, I can tell you when I'm watching someone from the range and I'm watching a new student shoot a pistol, I can really tell the difference between a press and a pull. Last time you were at the range, if you haven't shot before, what I'll give you the hint is when you are slapping or pulling the trigger, it becomes more of a movement of the whole pistol, not just the weapon, not just the trigger. Because the trigger's in the center of the hand, but the trigger getting slapped back causes the front post of the weapon to drop low or drop high. It can do a lot of right or lefts. There's a lot of stuff it can do. So we want to really think about a slow, gradual engagement of the trigger until it fires. One of the tips I could tell you, if you went back and you thought about last week's shooting at the range. By the way, did anybody go shooting last week? Please let me know in the comments below. If you hadn't, when's the last time you went shooting? Maybe comment below as well. I want to get you guys to the range or dry firing at least once a week. Once a week. That's a goal I want you guys to set for yourself. Get to the range or dry fire at least once a week. If you don't know what dry firing is, look at last week's video. We did a whole thing on dry firing, and that kind of gives you the whole drill effect of. I did a video which was on YouTube, and it talked about dry firing, the tips to dry fire. And it doesn't cost you to dry fire. We're not talking about spending an hour doing it. We're talking about 20 or 30 trigger presses to get you to understand trigger travel and how much the trigger moves back. But if you don't understand how much engagement or how much pressure the trigger needs before it cuts, that's a big learning curve for you to begin with. Because a lot of people tend to want to slap the trigger versus press the trigger. So, number one would be a slow, continuous pressure until the weapon cuts. One of the things I can tell you, if you're at the range and you shoot 5 rounds, did you know the weapon was going to fire, or did you anticipate, or the shot surprise you? If the shot doesn't surprise you, then you're actually pulling the trigger versus pressing the trigger. And once you get to a perfect press, then your accuracy will gain very quickly. Very, very quickly. Right, number one, trigger press. Number two is focusing on control. The trigger press emphasizes being control throughout the entire process, from the initial contact with the trigger to the movement of the shot break. So, in other words, it's all the way back. And if you could visualize in your brain how much pressure I need to put on this trigger to get it back to my wall to cut through this weapon, that's kind of one of those distances that we gotta always know. And that's what I do when I'm at the range. If I'm shooting, because I get to shoot a lot of different pistols. That's one of the great things here. Because a lot of people come to the range with pistols already. And so it may be a SIG, or it may be a Glock, or it may be a high point. It could be a lot of different pistols that people bring them to the range to learn to shoot, and I have to kinda know what the trigger's gonna do before they do it, so I just take it out in front of me, hold it in front of me. It doesn't matter which pistol it is, doesn't matter which manufacturer it is. Within a short period of time of holding the gun in my hand, I will know where the target, where the bullets impact, and how much pressure I need to put on the trigger to make the weapon cut. And that's one of those things we need to focus on, that control. Grip is important, but if we're gripping perfectly and we got stance perfectly and we're got the weapon over our dominant eye, but we're slapping the shit out of the trigger every time, that's going to affect our accuracy no matter what. Imagine you holding a cup of water in your hand and you're walking as slow as you can and you're doing everything perfectly. but you're on a rocky foundation, which you have to jump from rock to rock. Well, obviously, all that movement's going to cause problems with that water in the cup. This is the same thing we need to think about, getting that trigger back in a slow cadence that allows the weapon to stay level, and then you're able to cut that shot as clean and as crisp as possible. Number two is focusing on control. All right, consistency. This is one of the other things that happens because a lot of times when you put 15 rounds in a magazine, this is one of the things. This is the if I could give you uh, accuracy tip, the accuracy tip is always put 5 rounds in the magazine at a time. Don't cut past 5 rounds because then you're along for the ride. If that makes sense. You can maybe hold a gun still enough for 5 rounds, but when you get past 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you're just along for the ride at that point in time. And keep in mind, the first 5 are good, 6 through 15 are all the bad habits you're picking up. So I constantly preach this to everybody here. I get the days that come into the range and popping out 15 or 30 round magazine and pop, 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 pop. That's really not doing anything. That's not really doing justice for us. That's not helping us with our accuracy or anything else like that. That's just cutting shots. Blasting away. That's the worst thing you can do, especially as a newbie, because at that point in time you just can't do everything right to begin with, and now you're putting a lot of extra pressure on the weapon trying to be accurate. You know what it is? It's just a waste of ammo at that point in time. Because remember, working a pistol, working it properly, doing everything is hard work. It's not complicated, but it's complex. There's a lot of things you have to do to make this gun, make this weapon uh, be proficient, right? The gun is an inanimate object that does nothing without you, and we control most of the accuracy with three things: our right hand, our left hand, and our trigger. Those what causes most of the problems because we're not holding on to the gun properly with our grip, and the trigger's causing a lot of manipulation of the weapon. So, consistent trigger press is crucial for accuracy and repeatability in shooting. It minimizes the variations in the shot placement caused by inconsistent trigger manipulation. I want you to comment below. Tell me how many of you think the trigger is the most problem with shooting a pistol. I get comments every week talking about, well, I could just muscle the gun and get it ready. You're right. Most men can shittily hold the gun and shoot it okay. It's just when you start getting the people who have weaker hands or women that don't have pecs, men can use a pec muscle and control the weapon to a point where they're going to be somewhat consistent. With women, you use your back muscles, and you got to really control the weapon because really, if you think about it, there's no muscles in our hands. So if we're going to muscle a gun, it's going to have to be through our. We always say women control the weapon with wrist and booty. We got to control the weapon with our wrist and our booty, and that would be consistent. So in this picture, we want to think about where the trigger is, where the trigger's going to be, and when the trigger fires. This is called the trigger at release, the trigger at prep or reset, and the trigger at fully depressed. Now, a lot of times, I can't think of a pistol today, but a lot of times a pistol will press back on depress and it'll come forward enough to reset. Now, reset is one of those things that you need to know because what it does is the trigger only has to come so far before the weapon resets. And you'll hear a decent, and if you did a Glock 19, for instance, and you held that trigger all the way to the back wall, now you'd have to hold it to the back wall as well as Go ahead, rack the slide just a little bit to reset the trigger, and then let it creep forward just enough until you hear a click. Now that click will be way closer to you than it will to a full reset, full release, in other words. And reset's one of those things where you will give you more a lighter trigger pull throughout the weapon if you go to the reset point. But then again, reset is one of those things. It's for accuracy. It's not for defensive purposes. It's truly not for home defense, obviously. Because real life, if you watch any of the videos that are on YouTube or anywhere else, nobody's working reset in that scenario. All that stuff goes out the window in a high stress situation. But trigger travel is one of those things that uh, you got to have a concept of how much it moves prior to the weapon cutting. That way you can get some of that slack out of there before you get into a situation where you need to. That's why I think any student should work on about 50% of the range time should be on aiming at a 3-inch circle or less. And then the other percentage of the time is extending your distance with a firearm and meeting a goal or uh, a distance that you need to work on. Last week we talked about you don't you don't win you don't learn from winning, you learn from losing. So when we're at the range and we're shooting 3-inch circles at 3 feet or 3 yards, and we're impacting consistently at that distance, well, we need to graduate to a further distance. We need to get to a point where I need to know where my failure rate is so I can work on extending my distance with the firearm. Now, keep in mind, I'm always the person that says, hey, a firearm can shoot distances, but we need to make sure that we're conquering the shorter distance before we get the longer distances. Because shooting a firearm at 20 yards or 30 yards or 40 yards or 50 yards, and surely it would do it. Now, you're not going to expect you to have a clover leaf. That means the bullets are all touching each other consistently at those distances because there's too much manipulation on a person to cause the scripts to go up and down and right and left. But we start adjusting our group sizes for the further we go out with a firearm. And that's kind of what we're working now. Here at our range, we're an indoor training facility and we have 31, 30, 33 feet to the back. So we're about 11 yards and a half all the way to the back, which is perfect for doing the training we do because most of the stuff is that underneath that 21 foot, that 7 yards, that 10 yards and 7 yards is the furthest distance you probably would want to get in a gunfight due to the fact that in a high stress situation, you're responsible for every bullet you have. Now, obviously, that's just me talking in a situation, but keep in mind, you guys are responsible for your bullet till it hits the ground. And going in a situation where you get the high stress involved in that as well, and you don't have the curve of the muscle memory yet of a firearm, and you start slapping a trigger, you could at 30 feet, if you slap the trigger, that bullet could impact 2 feet left, foot and a half low. It could go all over the place, and it's proven in the back every day because my floor has bullet holes in it. That the chip paint off the walls. My walls have holes in them. My styrofoam above my target has holes in it. The target track itself that holds the targets on there, the people aren't shooting at the clips, but the clips get hit all the time. So those are normally a 16 inches, 17 inches above where the middle of the circle would be in the body. So somebody has, you know, somebody needs some work. I've got plexiglass in the back that we've had people who have shot holes in them because of discipline or not having the discipline they need. That's the one problem with firearms in the United States. Yes, there is the Second Amendment. Yes, I believe in it fully. Yes, you don't need to take a class in Florida to carry a firearm. You don't need anything. You just now it's in Florida with the constitutional carry. You just need to be to put a gun on your body. My question to you is, are you going to be proficient enough in that scenario, be able to know what you need to do in that scenario? That's why they give a 15-year-old a learner's permit before he drives by himself. That's why the state of Florida puts a motorcycle license test before you get your motorcycle endorsement, because they won't let you drive a motorcycle on the highway in Florida without going through a full class. But surely you can buy a firearm in the state of Florida and not have any knowledge at all. And this is kind of what it's a little pet peeve of mine. Not that firearm, not that I want to force training on anybody, but keep in mind you're on the street with me, and you want to be as proficient as you can with that. So I got off on a tangent there. I apologize about that. All right, number three. Number four is finger placement. Now, this is kind of be one of those controversial things because every day I do one of these videos on finger placement. I get some guy from somewhere goes, I put my whole finger in that gun and it works every time. But I know for a fact that no matter who you are and what pistol you are, sooner or later you got to find the right positioning of your finger to the trigger. Now, this picture you see has a little bit of animation, or that's not animation, it doesn't move, illustration of where you need to make sure your finger is not. Now, the one on the far left is where you should be. You're not at the tip of your finger, but you're not at your crease. You want to be sort of in the center. You kind of think about the firearm as a level, right? And we have the trigger in the center of, I mean, the finger in the center of the trigger. It's not too far to the left. It's not too far to the right. It's just right in the middle, like Goldilocks, right? It's not too hot, not too cold. It's perfect, right? This is where it needs to be. And this will help us push that trigger into the back of our hands. Now, if you look at the one in the middle, look what's happening there. As you put more finger in the gun, you would expect that to go more to the left, but it doesn't. It goes to the right because if you're squeezing hard with your dominant hand, you're causing that bullet to impact right to begin with, if you're right handed, obviously. But then if you put too much finger in the gun and you're squeezing hard with your right hand, they're going to impact even righter or even further to the right. This is where most people tend to put the tip of the finger into the gun and then squeeze twice as hard with their left hand, and that's causing the gun to drift off to the left. Now, I am more beyond naturally because I have short hands and short thumbs. I naturally shoot to the left on a regular basis without building some kind of gap with the firearm. If you look at number one there, the very first one to the left, do you see his finger and see that gap between the gun and his finger? That's called a trigger gap. And there's a video on our website about trigger gap and why that's important, because the more we have touching this gun, the more it's going to manipulate the pistol either better or worse. So it's important that we level the pistol, put the gun in the center of our hand. If you pay attention to that trigger, I mean that weapon, and look at the top of it, from the top down view, look how the gun, the barrel assembly is going down the arm. This is a trick right here. This is magical. So if you get the finger going down the arm like that, then if you have the one in the middle, you got one going off to the right, and then you have a position in your hand to go off to the left. So trigger placing the finger placement is important. Proper finger placement on the trigger is essential for good trigger press. The finger should be placed on the trigger in such a way that it can apply pressure straight back without pulling or pushing the gun off target. That happens an awful lot, guys. All right. And then number 5 is pressure management. Understanding how much pressure you need for a particular firearm and trigger setup is key. Too much, too little can lead to jerking, flinching, and affecting accuracy. This is what I was telling you earlier about how much finger I need to put in this gun. Now, obviously, this picture you're looking at here is a Glock. If you've never shot a Glock 19 or anything else like that, it has a stiff trigger. It's a popular trigger. A lot of people like it, but it's got a front safety pad, which has to be engaged for the weapon will fire. And then if you really start pressing that trigger back slowly, you'll find it doesn't come back very smooth. It comes back kind of stiff. And the more stiff it is, we need to be careful that we don't bend our wrist or allow our wrist to bend while we're applying pressure to the weapon. Because the more we apply pressure to the weapon, the more your wrist will dip. So this is where proper grip comes in because if you stick those thumbs, the combat grip, and lock out that left hand thumb, if you're right handed, and if you're left handed, you'll be locking out your opposite thumb. Uh, if you lock out that thumb, your wrist won't bend while you shoot that weapon, which will keep the weapon more level at that point in time. And check out this trigger placement. You think he's going to do well with that top picture? It looks like he's got his finger all the way into the grease versus the one on the bottom where he's just using the mid pad to his finger. This is probably a better trigger press for him right there. So number 5 is trigger press. Number 6 is trigger travel. And trigger travel or preparation of the trigger. Pressing the trigger ensures proper sight alignment, sight picture. A good trigger press follows a deliberate aiming process. I did this trigger travel video a long time ago, but probably a year now. But definitely, anytime you dry fire, which we did a dry fire thing on our web page, on our YouTube channel last week. But anytime you're pressing a trigger, you got to make sure that the weapon stays as level as possible. We're not getting any kind of low engagement when you're pressing the trigger, you're not using your wrist. But that trigger travel or taking the slack out of the trigger is a big way to prep the trigger for cutting. Years ago, when they had revolvers very popular, and the guys who went out to the range and shot an awful lot, they would have a revolver get to a point where they would take it back. It was called staging of the trigger. And this is staging of the trigger is more of a revolver thing than it is a semi-automatic, but it's the same effect. If I take a revolver that's a double action revolver, 6-inch barrel, and I bring it back all the way, that's a hard trigger pull. I didn't cock it, I just pulled it through. But what I want to do is take that trigger back to a certain point, and as I get it back, it's going to start feeling lighter as it gets to the curve of the hammer about to fall. And once it gets to that point, that's the stage where you want to find your sight system, make sure you're exactly where you need to be, and then finish the shot through the weapon. and you'll find yourself a lot more accurate. This is sort of what we're trying to do with a semi-automatic pistol. Is the same thing as getting the slack out of that trigger to a point where we know it's going to cut, that we only have so much more travel before the weapon actually physically cuts. And you're going to be find yourself, you're going to be a lot more accurate and be able to stack those rounds when you understand how far do I need to take this trigger before the weapon fires. So preparation is number 6. Number 7 is follow through. After the shot breaks, maintaining a good follow through by keeping the trigger held back momentarily, focusing on the target. This helps assess the shot and makes corrections. And one of the things you can do here is this is where a good follow through will keep the weapon out in front of you. Like we talked last week or 2 weeks ago about prairie dog and looking over top of the gun. This is one of the real challenges most people do is they don't trust their sight picture. They're so used to shooting low and left or low and right or high and right that every time they pop their head up over the pistol, you're resetting yourself at that point in time, which is causing a lot more inaccuracies than you need to have. Listen, if you you hold that weapon properly and press that trigger as slow as you can, the bullets will impact exactly where you're aiming. We are manipulating the trigger problems with the weapon. The weapon is not doing anything without us. We're doing most of the challenges or most of the problems with the weapon by over gripping, under gripping, too much finger in, too much finger out, slamming the trigger instead of pressing the trigger. And follow through is one of those things that it in any sport, whether it be archery or anything else, like they can't drop your arms, you can't drop your body and look for anything. You got to stay focused through the whole time until the impact of the bullet. And this will keep the weapon level at that point. So the reset on the second shot, third shot, fourth shot, fifth shot will all be better because you had a positive follow through. All right. Number 8 is dry fire. I mean, this I cannot tell you enough how important 8, 10, 12 dry fires a day will do for you on the range. This is your bucket of balls, guys. If you don't know what dry firing is, I'll explain it to you as easy as I can. It's an empty weapon. It's no magazine, no rounds. No rounds or if you're in your home, no rounds or magazines can be anywhere in the room. You need to go to a separate part of the house that you know the weapon is empty. You are going to check, verify, check, verify that the weapon is completely empty. Now, let's say we're going to take a Glock 19, for instance. We have no magazine in the gun. We're going to rack the slide. We're going to put a proper grip up. We're going to push it out in front of us, and we're going to slowly engage the trigger until the weapon fires. And if that weapon bobbles in any way possible, if it moves and you can see it moving, the best way to do this is on a clean white wall. You put on a clean white wall and you'll see that front of that weapon. If it bobbles, then that's a pull versus a press. You need to do it as clean as you can until the weapon doesn't move. If you want to do a couple different drills, that will help you. There's the penny drill, which you put a penny on the front post, especially on a Glock, because the top of the Glock's sight post is completely flat. So you can put a penny on top of that, flat like that, push it out in front of you, cut the trigger without the penny falling. You could do that as well with a casing. I've done that before where you take an empty casing, put that out in front of you, put it out there and slowly press the trigger without the casing falling. There is a video of me doing that. That's not as simple as it sounds, but we need to get that that trigger back as smooth as possible. Dry firing is a good drill, good ability to understand trigger travel without spending a dime in ammo. But I don't think dry firing is going to help you for a long period of time if you don't add some firing and dry firing in the mix. Because basically, what happens, guys, is we have an internal monster inside of us. And every time you go to the range and the weapon is being fired, he's freaking out a little bit inside you. And he doesn't know what you're doing because you haven't been shooting for a while. So every time you pull a trigger, it kind of has this whole anticipation of going on. And the more it anticipates it, the more it causes you to have problems. So you want to make sure that when you're practicing that dry fire, that you got the gun in a safe environment, no bullets in the room, no bullets anywhere in the area you're at. Rack that slide, double check it's empty, pinky check it if you have to. Look all the way through the weapon and do 10, maybe 12, maybe 15 trigger pops to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking for. And the more you do this, the easier it becomes. And then when you come to the range, you'll be so much surprised on how much better you'll be cutting that trigger. And that's an economical, cheap way of doing it. Number 9 is feedback. Pay attention to the feedback of your body during the trigger press. Now, this may be a challenge for people who are new because I'm always asking students, did you feel that? Did you feel the difference between, because trust me, if you shoot long enough, you're going to have trigger dip, you're going to have flinching, you're going to have anticipation. We all have it, guys. We all have it. Uh, you're going to have a lot of different stuff that causes it. So you want to make sure that you can feel the difference between a good shot and a bad shot. A good shot, guys, it just feels good. You hit where you're aiming, your accuracy is good, everything's working perfect for us. We're not having too many problems with it. But I can tell you, taking a new student in the back, watching them pull the crap out of the trigger, and then after 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 magazines, they start to understand the difference between a good shot and a bad shot. And once you start shooting those good shots and you cut a bad shot, you surprising to me how many of them shake their head like, "Oh, that's what he's talking about. That's what he's saying." Because we're doing these training classes. I'm behind them. I'm watching the front of the gun dip. I'm watching it do all kinds of stuff. I'm not really for a new student. I'm more trying to get them into a point of understanding the whole system versus pinpointing one problem for them. It's easier to do it that way. Let's get them running the pistol first, and then we can fine tune what accuracy problems they're having. And a lot of it is not gripping the gun properly, maybe rolling the finger too far into the gun, maybe a slap of the trigger versus a press of a trigger. But your body will tell you 100%, 100% when the shot feels good, it feels good. There's no questions asked. When a shot feels bad, you'll know it feels bad. You'll know right off the bat. You go, oh yeah, that feels terrible. So feedback can come from two different ways, guys. You as the firearms instructor walking behind you, but if you shoot with a buddy or shoot with your wife or shoot with your pal, just have them ask, "Watch my shot. How does it look? Does it look like I'm getting this trigger back without the front post dipping?" Which is a very common thing people do is they try to focus on the slowest trigger press they can, and then the front post is dipping, or they're starting with the front post in a dip mode. Remember, guys, we do not use our wrist to aim a gun. We use our waist to aim the gun. And that's a majority of the problems that people have is they've adjusted their wrist to aim the weapon, which puts it off a different angle. So the best off of position I can put you in is I can take you and magically put that pole between your two hip bones. When you want to aim a pistol, you want to aim on that pole. You want to bend on that pole and keep the weapon level. And the weapon level is going to shoot level. No issue, no problems. All right. Number 10. Yeah, every one of these things we always talk about. It should be first, be honest with you. Every time I put one of these in, they're always the last thing. So I don't want you to think I'm trying to sell training classes for you guys because most people watch these videos aren't from our area. We have a large percentage of people who are not from here. But yeah, you wanna what's that back in the day they called it the the, the bar curve when you took a class and you were in high school and everyone got C's and B's. The teacher kind of curved it a little bit that we all got better grades. Well, this is what happens when you seek training because the curve is a lot different. Your learning curve is a lot different because the firearm instructor is going to find the best way for you to run a pistol. 90, 85% of my students right now are women. Are looking to get their weapons, looking to get or husbands and wives that are looking to get their firearms license, get start carrying and doing all that stuff like that. And a woman's hands are a lot different than a man's hands. So we've got to get them a weapon that they can run. And if you try to go buy a gun and figure all this stuff out yourself, it's just very challenging and we're putting up hurdles that we don't need. So seeking training is probably your number one thing if you can do it and you have an instructor that's close to you. Obviously, we'd love to see each and every one of you come down here. We've had plenty of guys that come from all over the United States that come down and train with us for one reason or another. And they come to vacation and they come here. We've been very fortunate with this YouTube thing to allow that to happen to us, which we never would have had that without the YouTube. But a large percentage of the people need to have that foundation, and a firearms instructor can help you with that. Now, I've mentioned you many times before. How do you find a good firearms instructor? There's two options for you that I recommend right off the bat. Is the NRA, obviously. I'm an NRA instructor. You can put your zip code in, and they'll give you firearms instructors in your area that are NRA certified. Then we are United States Concealed Carry Association instructors as well, and the USCCA has the same thing: zip code, your area, and you'll find instructors. If you don't have instructors in your area, you can always hit up the local gun stores and or the local gun shops, the gun ranges, and they probably have some qualified instructor that either works for them or goes in there with students on a regular basis. And that'd be my idea. And then once you get the name or two, give them a call, check their Facebook page, check their YouTube channels, check whatever they have to make sure that you're gonna jive with them. You get a retired Marine Corps sergeant. Um, Not God bless them for that, but sometimes that's not the easiest thing to put a woman into or a man into. That's kind of nervous and newbie anyways, right? And they're worried about doing something completely wrong. Going out and getting into a group tactical class when you don't know what you're doing with a weapon is not the place to start either. So obviously, a good instructor would find out your knowledge and your expertise and try to put you in something that's going to fit your expertise at that point in time. Now, keep in mind, shooting is not complicated. It's complex. There's a lot of little things you need to know, not the big things you need to know. And it all comes as you get further and further along. One of the most important things I can tell you is finger off the trigger. The rest of it all come. What makes that gun go bang? You. And when a good instructor will go through all the little things to make you more proficient with the pistol. All right. All right. So here's your bonus. Now I put a playlist together for you guys today of all my videos that talk about trigger, and it's under my YouTube channel. It's Trigger Travel and Trigger Press. This is the YouTube playlist. And each one of these videos will take a look at different things about the trigger and why it's important, why trigger placement is important. And again, where you're hearing me say it, but you're going to be watching me in these videos, which in turn will be a better bonus for you. Because again, without grip and trigger are about even when it comes with manipulation of a pistol. Because unfortunately, with a rifle, you got your shoulder, you got your cheek, you got your right hand, you got your left hand. With the pistol, you only have your right hand, your left hand, and all the other stuff is going to manipulate it. So a firearm, a handgun, is the hardest thing to teach you. But there are some little things that you can do to become more proficient with a pistol. If you watch this video, these I think there's 5 videos, 6 videos of this. Uh, the 6 videos are going to give you trigger travel drills as well as what trigger travel is. And each one of these will be a little bit more in tune to a different kind of pistol each time. But obviously, uh, getting your head around that is important. All right, so let's go back. In conclusion, a slow trigger press foster great control and mindful uh, and consistency in your shooting technique leads to improved confidence and accuracy at the range. By focusing on deliberate, methodical approach to pressing the trigger, can achieve more precise and reliable shot placement, ultimately enhancing your shooting experience and results. Very good. Very good. All right, so let's get out of this. We're about 57 minutes in. I try to finish these things out in an hour. So let's finish this off here. Close this out. Move that. There I am. There I am. All right. So number one, don't forget about that free book, guys. I want to give you that. So make sure you get your butt and get that. That'd be awesome. Be awesome. You get that. It's gonna help you a little bit. There'll be a lot of stuff on there about trigger as well. I want to talk about our Monday nights again. We have that Monday night shooting league. If you're in the greater Southwest Florida area and watching this, we would love to have you here. It's every Monday night at 6 o'clock. It's a 22 pistol league. Any 22 you want. Red dot, not red dot. Any you want to shoot a pistol in it or a revolver, whatever you want to shoot. We're not going to stop any of that. But you shoot 10 rounds at 5 yards, 10 rounds at 7 yards, and 10 rounds at 10 yards, and we count up the score. It is a 300 max. Each bullet is worth 10 points, and we have a 10 circle, a 9 circle, 8 circle, and 7 circle. And it'd be a fun thing to work on your proficiency and become more accurate with a pistol. 22 doesn't have a lot of recoil. I find shooting a 22 a lot harder than a 9 millimeter. I know with that 9 millimeter I could do a lot better, but the 22 is what I need to work on. That's why we started the 22 league. And plus the fact that 22 is like $4, what, 4 cents a round, 4 cents, 3 cents a round if you find the right products. So it makes it easy for you to shoot like that. All right. Number two, the book. You go to visit our website, or if you had an opportunity to get that code, uh, QR code, that'll take you right there. And that gives you a bunch of tips. Albert, thank you for being on the on the live tonight. We appreciate that very much. And Albert is from Wisconsin. Big Packers fan, I bet. Big Packers fan. Uh, Michael from Alabama. All right, Michael, how you doing, buddy? You new to the channel? You've been here before, buddy. Michael from Alabama. Natasha. Hi, Natasha. Hi, Natasha's mom. Natasha shot the bullseye team last night. She did well. Uh, uh, obviously, she'll do better next week. Ah, Albert went shooting yesterday for 2 hours. Here's what I'll tell you, Albert. Unless you want to burn out pretty quickly, stick to that. Stick to that hour, man. This is like the 18 holes of golf. If I gave you 18 holes of golf after you just shot 18 holes, you think you're going to be any accurate? Work on focusing on 1 hour of consistent trigger engagement and be more proficient. I see a lot of people make a mistake going to the range for 2 or 2.5 to 3 hours and just burning ammo. And that first 10 magazines are probably your best, and after that fact, just burning ammo, man. And I get sometimes that's what you want to do, take the stress off of burning ammo. But remember, every time you touch this pistol, you're picking up a habit. Make sure it's a good habit. But I am very glad you were out there, Robert. Albert. Very glad you were out there. All right, Rick, how you doing, buddy? Good seeing you. Smith and Wesson Equalizer, very nice, Albert. Yeah, that's a nice piece, buddy. I don't know if you shot bad for the 2 hours. That Equalizer's probably got the best trigger on the market right now. I'm biased. I'm biased as anything, but I can tell you this right now. I took a 85-year-old woman in the back 2 weeks ago, and she was knocking quarters down with that freaking equalizer. We sell a lot of those equalizers. That if you haven't got a chance to shoot that equalizer from Smith and Wesson's trigger, you got to do it, guys. A lot of people don't like the backstrap safety, and I was one of those guys that did not like the backstrap safety when I started. But the more you hold that gun properly, uh, the more accurate you'll be with that pistol. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal piece. We sell a crap of those. I mean, uh, almost impossible for me not to sell somebody one of those when I see what somebody can do. I've had 11-year-old girls on that gun all the way up to an 84, 85 woman, and they're all accurate with that pistol. And easy racking, uh, with the loader. It comes with a loader. They're easy loading. I'm not going to say they're the easiest gun to load with someone with disabilities or finger, not having the thumb pressure. But Smith answered the question of that by giving a loader with it. So you get 3 magazines with it. You get well, in Florida, there are some high capacity areas where you can't have it. But in Florida, you get a 15 rounder with that, a 13 rounder with that, and a 10 rounder with that. And it comes with a loader. Pretty great piece. You get an opportunity, you need to shoot one, you'll be adding it to your portfolio. They're that accurate. It's a Glock killer. It's a SIG 365 killer. It's a Hellcat killer, the Pro. Glock 44, no question. I mean, Glock 43X, no question. The equalizer would be better for that. So it is the killer right now. I think that is my problem. Albert's saying he shoots low and left. Well, Albert, I got you, buddy. You go to my YouTube channel. There is a book that I wrote my very first book, and it is "Why Do I Shoot Low and Left?" And it explains exactly why, what you're doing wrong, and it's directly on our website. Just when you go get the other one, that's 9.99, Albert. But if you put in when you check out on my website, uh, Live, Live 2024, you're gonna get that book for only $4.99. And you get that, it's a quick read. There are a few little videos attached to that. I have a on my YouTube channel, there is a low and left, low and left playlist, and in that playlist, it's gonna give you all the videos and drills to solve your problems. I'd highly recommend you pick that up. Remember Live, Live 2024 at checkout, and you'll be able to pick that up for only $4.99. Michael, good, been there before. Coming, see you guys again. Oh, cool, Mike. We appreciate that. Mike, so you live locally here? You live in Cape Coral or anything, or is where's Fort Myers? Because we'd love to have you in the Monday night league, man. Every Monday night, 6 o'clock starts. We, we're, we've been trying to get more and more people involved in that, especially for the summer, because we are in an area where we have transient people. So in other words, people going back and forth, not bums, but I mean the winter residents. They come here and then they go home for the summer. So that's when we start doing all of our clubs and things like that when we got more time and more people. So obviously, we would love to have you, Mike, if you have an opportunity. So it's been an hour and 7 minutes, and I want to thank you very much for being here this evening. And the topics are, you know, this is probably one of the most important topics when it comes to shooting. There's three things: grip, your stance, and your trigger control. And all three of those will obviously benefit you and make you a better shooter. Uh, definitely spend some time reading those books. Go ahead and make sure you hit our YouTube channel. Start watching those videos. You want to help me out. You want to give me something, and monetarily, I'm not asking you to do anything. But if you just go to my YouTube channel and watch a few videos and watch another video and hit the bell icon to like the show, I am so humbled how many people like, subscribe, and share our videos on a weekly basis. That who would have thought guy in North Fort Myers would have such a base in in California or Ohio. And I had a one of my books yesterday or the day before was uh Argentina. So they bought two. They bought both books, which is pretty awesome to think about. Now what I'm obviously you watch one of my YouTube channels about the book or watch some of our videos and saw it, wanted to get it. But this book we've got now, we're always gonna put a playlist together for you, or we're gonna write the book in this thing where we'll have a tip and a video, a tip and a video, a tip and a video, which will help tremendously get more and more people um, educated on. That's my job. That's what I want to do. That's a passion of mine. So that being said, I love you guys. Good night. We'll see you next week with a new topic and a new study. Make sure that you stay tuned. We got a lot more stuff coming up. A lot more stuff during the week. We're gonna do a couple gun reviews in a couple weeks from now. I'm not sure how well the gun reviews go on live. They don't like that very well. We did a live one time before we got kicked for cleaning the gun. So, but we're gonna do a lot of different stuff. We're keeping up, but I'm always want to know what you guys want. If there's something, that's one of the things. That's one of the things we do this for. Is when somebody has a problem. I love doing videos like that. When someone sends me a problem or the low and left or this or that, and then I can go ahead and respond to the video, make a video to respond. Last one I did was a guy was shooting high and right. How the heck do you shoot high and right? Well, determined by looking at his targets that he was focusing in the center of the target. In other words, he was covering the center with his weapon. He wasn't concentrating on anything on the target. He was just pointing the gun at the X, but he's putting the gun on the X, and the sights are above the barrel. You understand? So if your barrel is here, and your sights are here, this was causing him to shoot high, and the high and high and left thing was he was putting too much finger in the gun, so it was impacting. So I told him to aim at the 6 o'clock hole and use the tip of his finger, and within a next couple days, I got two two targets from him, and both were right in the center, and that's because he was not using his sights properly. Probably no one ever told him that. That's why the videos themselves explained it all very well. But if you have an issue at the range and you want me to help you, please let me know. I would love to support you. We do always do some uh, video conferences that we could do. You can show me your target. We can show you what you're doing wrong and help you out tremendously. And these are no cost things. We don't charge for that, guys, because it is a passion of mine. You just got to give me if you do the video. Like I get a bunch of those. I don't do them all. I can't do them all. I don't have time to do them all. With this, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and X and all the stuff we do, and running the business and doing training classes, doing gun shows. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff we're doing, but this will always be one of my passions. I love you guys very much. Have a great rest of the week. You be safe. Hey, Mother's Day is coming up, guys. If you have not got something from your mom and you are locally here, we're doing the Mother's Day gift cards. You buy $100 worth of gift cards and you get $20. So you $100, you get 120, and you could give that. You could give mom the 100. You keep the 20 for range time, guys, or give her the whole 120. The 120 can be used for anything, any services we offer: training classes, try before you buy, concealed carry classes, ammo, any accessories we sell in here, as well as any couples classes you'd like to sign her up for. You just give us a call or stop by. The hard gift card that we give her, or if you can't make it to the store, you can always do a call us up and we can email you your your certificate. So don't forget about mom this weekend, because she doesn't forget about you ever. God bless, be safe, and remember, you are your first line of defense. I love you folks. Good night.